In the coming weeks, the Long Beach Planning Commission, and eventually the City Council, will consider a proposal by a profit-making partnership to remove decades of unsightly surface oil operations north of 2nd Street between PCH and Studebaker Road, replace it with underground slant drilling from 2 nearby sites, and restore this large portion of the Los Cerritos wetlands, in green on the map, to its former natural beauty for public use. The partnership proposing this recently gave the public a chance to go where the public usually can't go and to see what's proposed. LongBeachReport.com did that, and you're about to see and hear what we saw and heard. LongBeachReport.com's extended video coverage is made possible by Joe and Linda Sopo, your Los Altos real estate specialists at joeandlindasopo.com, by Diversified Threat Management, security services and more for your neighborhood and business group, and by Amico Solar, Southern California's #1 solar contractor since 1974. We arrived on Sunday morning, October 22nd at 10 a.m. and were directed to a large event tent where we and others on the hourly tour were shown a video in which company officials described the project, Assemblyman Patrick O'Donnell praised the project, and the video displayed sophisticated digital images showing the restored wetlands. Then we headed out.
Okay, so this is our first tour stop, and this is well number 70. It's a little bit of a misnomer because there are only 39 active and idle wells on the project site. And we've got 39 on this side, and we operate 13 across the street on the city property, the one that is right behind Trader Joe's parking lot. All of these wells are going to be phased out over time. So our goal here is to consolidate all of the wells that we operate, all of these above-ground units, as well as the below-ground equipment off the site in a maximum period of 40 years.
40
years. And the way that's going to happen is in the first 20, 50% of all the wells are coming off. And in the next 20, the remaining 50 comes off. But at any time that any of these wells produces less than 1 barrel of oil a day for 18 consecutive months, they're added here as well. So even though it sounds like a very long time, and I agree that it is, there are going to be instant improvements as soon as this project is entitled that the public will have benefits to. And I'll name off a couple of these things. Number one, all of the tank farms that you see on this site, there's 2 tank farms, those are all coming off in the first 2 to 3 years. So just from an aesthetic standpoint, as you're driving by or as you're coming out of the Trader Joe's parking lot, you won't be seeing these massive oil tanks any longer. About 16 miles of above-ground pipeline. Here's one of the pipe racks next to me here, and you'll see as you're walking along a lot of these brown pipelines. These are all coming off in the first 2 to 3 years as well. And then, most importantly, we feel like this visitor center that's going to be rehabilitated and turned over to the Los Cerritos Wetlands Authority for management is going to be a huge public benefit. That Bixby office building that you drove next to when you signed in this morning, that's an old ranch house that we use currently as our office building. When we move over to the pumpkin patch, that office building is going to be rehabilitated. It's going to be earthquake retrofitted. It's going to be moved out of the existing Newport Inglewood fault line that it currently sits on. It's going to be moved outside of that, and that gets turned over to the LCWA as a public visitor center. And that visitor center connects to this trail that we're walking on that's going to let you basically come onto the property in the first 2 to 3 years, go up along Studebaker Road on our future trail, and get to see all of our wetland restoration and the steam shovel flume. So that's kind of the project in a nutshell. Immediately behind this well is a big area, roughly about 20 to 25 acres of degraded wetlands. And what we're going to do, as you'll see much better when we get to tour stop 2, is we're going to do some tidal channel grading here behind me. And what we're going to do after that is breach in strategic locations on a berm that currently separates steam shovel flume from this area here. And when the high tide comes in, it's going to flush into these areas and restore these degraded wetlands. And the way that we're going to separate our restoration area from this oil field for at least 40 years, because we don't want to commingle tidal water with oil operations, is to create another earthen berm, similar to what you'll see when you're up at stop 2.
He has been saying LCWA, I've been mentioning, I'm representing the Los Cerritos Wetlands Authority. I want to make sure everybody understands who the Los Rios Wetlands Authority is. So Los Rios Wetlands Authority was founded in 2006, and it's similar to entities like a transit authority, where several different entities with a common interest come together to solve one big problem. And those four agencies for the Los Rios Wetlands Authority are two state conservancies, the Rivers and Mountains Conservancy and the State Coastal Conservancy, and then the two municipalities on which the Los Rios Wetlands overlaps with, and that's the city of Seal Beach and the city of Long Beach. So each of those four entities has a representative on the Los Rios Wetlands Authority board, and the mission of the Los Rios Wetlands Authority is to acquire all of the 500 acres of Los Rios Wetlands and see them restored and conserved into the future. So this project really lines up nicely with the mission of the Los Rios Wetlands Authority. This project also lines up nicely with the objectives and goals of the conceptual restoration planning that the Los Rios Wetlands Authority pursued in 2013 to 2016. Came up with 3 different conceptual alternatives for what could be done throughout the 500 acres of Los Rios Wetlands, and this project is looking to achieve a nice portion of that planning that occurred previously. One of the big objectives for the Wetlands Authority that was determined through stakeholder-driven processes and meeting with all sorts of different technical advisors is to see how we can maximize tidal wetlands throughout Los Rios Wetlands. This all used to be tidal wetlands, 2,400 acres. Now we're reduced to just 500 acres to work with, and we only have about 40 or so actual tidal wetlands that are left. So, as Tina was saying, all these areas back here as part of this project will be reintroduced to the tides. Now, if you look at where we're standing, if we just have these tidal waters coming up and we have this old infrastructure, they're not going to mix very well. This is the well cellar right here for this particular well, and this well could go down somewhere around 7,000 to 9,000 feet down with literally over a mile of pipe going all the way down there. And if there's ever any issue in this well, they have to pull all that pipe out, deal with that, put it all back in. If they get water in there, that's not a very good thing. They have to pump it out. It's a big maintenance issue. So, tidal wetlands and these oil operations don't really commingle very well unless we were to raise this well site up or put a big berm around it. So what's being proposed by this applicant is pretty incredible from the perspective of we're going to restore some wetlands right now, and then in the future, all of this infrastructure will be removed and we can do the full shebang, the full restoration on this oil field in the future.
Take a couple questions before we move up to top 2.
What's left of approval? Is this a done deal?
No. Right now we are in our entitlement process. We just put out our draft environmental impact report with the City of Long Beach. So John mentioned in the tent, we've been planning this for 3 years. So all of the technical consultants have been doing their studies, and we've combined all of those studies into one environmental impact report that was released about 6 weeks ago. We solicited comments from the public for 45 days. We have all those comments now. We're in a response period. We're going to go to Planning Commission at the city November 16th, and then to City Council in December. But after that environmental document is certified, and we're hoping it does get certified, we still have all of our state and federal permits that we still have to get before we can start this project. So we're still looking at about, a 12 to 18 month period before we can break ground on all of the things that we talked about, the restoration, the visitor center, the pipe removal, the tank farm removal. But as soon as we get those entitlements and we're ready to go, we are ready.
The video mentioned the land transfer that would be going on, and that does not occur until all entitlements are in place. And that land transfer, just so everybody understands, is swapping a 5-acre parcel that the Wetlands Authority owns. So the Los Rios Wetlands Authority currently owns 170 acres within Los Rios Wetlands, and that includes a 5-acre industrial lot right there. You can see the property, the trees all around it on the corner of 2nd Street and Studebaker. It's an industrial lot. It looks just like the ground that you're standing on. It's used as a lease property right now. So right now there's hay rail stored out there. It is a revenue generator for the authority, but the authority would much rather swap out that industrial lot for this 154-acre mixed wetlands property because that's a lot further towards that mission. But that swap is not going to happen until all the entitlements are in place. Water and taking photos.
Eric, high tide or not high tide?
We're at a high tide. It's about a 5.5 foot high tide right now. So it can get a 1.5 foot higher. You cover up almost all the vegetation that you see out there. So this is Steam Shovel Slough, and it's approximately 40-acre tidal water body that looks just like it would have looked 100 years ago. And in fact, all of Los Cerritos Wetlands, like I said, 2,400 acres, look like this. And this is a we're not that crazy kind of thing. Like, this is what could be achieved throughout Los Cerritos Wetlands to have beautiful places like that. And it's getting its water from Alamitos Bay via the Los Cerritos Channel. So you can see the PCH bridge. The Los Cerritos Channel goes all the way up, and there's about a 300-foot wide opening that allows ocean water to come in here twice daily, full tidal flushing. That's how you get this beautiful tidal marsh. Now the plan is to expand that, and that's what Teenan can speak to.
So you folks can see that this side of the site to my right here, it's separated from this side by this berm. This earthen berm that was placed here before the oil operation started, but that's what allowed for oil to be feasible here, oil pumping at least, is because we weren't going to be introducing tidal flows, or we weren't going to be allowing the flows to commingle with the oil. So what we'd like to do as part of the restoration is bring it back to what it was. And so as you can see here on this photo, we're standing right here in this corner looking at both sides of the property right now. One side with Steam Shovel Slough, and along this berm here, we're going to be breaching it in strategic locations. Beneath those breaches, we're going to be grading tidal channels, meandering, natural-looking tidal channels, and we're going to be helping it, come along by planting it as well. But once this high tide comes in, it's going to flush into these areas, just like it does currently in its own slough. We're creating more areas for that tidal hydrology to come into. And that is literally right behind you that you're looking at right now. These dry, sandy-looking areas are all supporting degraded coastal salt marsh species, but, currently, that's what it wants to be, but it's lacking the hydrology. So once these strategic locations along the berm are breached, that's what's going to bring the water in. And on the south side of the restoration area, which is the road that we walked on, we're going to be putting back another earthen berm, and that's what, again, separates the restoration, the wet areas from the oil operations, because we continue to want to make sure that there's no intermingling of oil and water.
Are you because here you have this beautiful, pristine area, and then this land that's been abused for over 100 years. But there's more to restoration than just flooding it with water, so I'm concerned about the contaminants that are in the soil, so all those will be removed. There'll be soil samples taken before it's flooded.
Sure. We've done all of those technical studies over the last 3 years, and all of those studies, the results, how we're going to remediate that soil is all in our draft environmental impact report that the City of Long Beach put out to the public and is currently reviewing. Our Phase 2 studies, which included actual soil sampling locations within the entire restoration area, do show that there are some hot spots that we do have to remediate. All of that has to get done before we can even put one shovel in the ground, because there's no way, as part of a restoration plan, we can do anything that would jeopardize or put the actual resource that we're trying to protect and expand, in jeopardy of being contaminated.
Furthermore, since the Los Rios Wetlands Authority is going to be acquiring this property as part of the land transfer, as a public agency, the authority cannot receive a land that isn't clean, or at least has a plan to be cleaned by the former landowner. So that's going to be a really critical part of the land transfer agreement. So that's another bonus that comes with this. Now, as I mentioned, the Wetlands Authority owns another 170 acres. It has a global view for Los Rios wetlands. And so that's why this project is, again, attractive to the authority, because a private landowner has said, hey, we're going to take care of a large portion of it in partnership with you, but we're going to take care of the major heavy lifting aspects of restoration, and especially of restoration of a heavily degraded former industrial use area. The Los Rios Wetlands Authority also feels that this project has a great opportunity to be successful in a short period of time. Compared to some of the other areas that we're looking to restore in Los Rios Wetlands, where we have large levees along the San Gabriel River, or other operations for oil operations that are not going to be moving, this one has kind of a low-hanging fruit perspective, because all we have is this small earthen berm separating this very productive historic wetland. Make a few alterations to that berm, allow the tides to come in, as Tina was saying, do some contouring, do some planting, obviously make sure no contamination's in there, and we would expect to just see an expansion of Steam Shovel Slough, and that's what the renderings really demonstrate. Performance for this project in a short period of time is going to be important because of the funding mechanism for this restoration, and Tina can speak to the logistics of that.
Somebody asked earlier who the applicant is, and when I say we, who am I representing? So the applicant on this project, currently and moving forward, is an entity called Beach Oil Mineral Partners, called BOMP. And that's made up of Synergy Oil and Gas, who's John McEwen, the gentleman that you heard in the tent, and Lion Communities, the owner of the pumpkin patch site on which we're going to be drilling additional wells. So those two entities have come together. They are financing 100% of this project. And what's great about that is that the restoration component is funded up front. We are not looking for public funding. We're not looking for grants. Any type of funding that we have set aside for this project goes towards the restoration, and additionally pays for an endowment that the Los Cerritos Wetlands Authority will be receiving as we transfer this land over to them. So in terms of a restoration project that may take a lot longer time frame to implement, we have a time frame of 5 years to make this side essentially function equivalently to the other side, or as much as we hope it can. And the reason for that is because as part of this project, we're restoring it and we're paying for it up front, but the applicant would like to, in some way, if possible, recoup some of that funding. And the way that he's doing it is by creating a mitigation bank. And that's a term that many of you may not be familiar with. And what it is, it's an instrument that allows the applicant to sell credits in the areas that he's restored. So for example, if the Port of Long Beach or Caltrans has a project and they are impacting wetland resources and they don't have anywhere to mitigate for that, they might be able to come here and buy credits. And that credit is not just set up by me. This bank is actually overseen by federal and state agencies, including Army Corps, California Coastal Commission, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. It's a very stringent overseen process. So as they're issuing permits for the ports or for Caltrans to develop their project, they will also be overseeing the crediting for this bank as well. So hopefully some of that sale of credit can help recuperate some of the initial capital. But in terms of restoration, this is a project that will be fully funded by the applicant out of the gate.
And all risk assumed by the applicant. That's another reason why the authority is supportive. The authority is assuming no risks with this. The authority will get a restored wetland whether or not they're able to sell those credits or not.
Right.
And so that is a positive aspect, as opposed to many mitigation projects where the impacts happen up front and then the mitigation happens after. In this one, the restoration happens, and then people who are impacting in other places can come and buy those credits.
Just a couple more things before I open to Q&A. A few other public benefits that I want to stress while we're standing here that you can see. Right, this towards the Best Buy sign that you see in the background there, there's a giant oil tank farm right in front of it. That's actually sitting on the Synergy property, and that's one of the oil tanks that comes off the site in that first 2 to 3 year time frame that we're talking about. And then over by the tents that we were all standing under, there's a Bixby office building right behind that. You can see the roof line. That is actually a historic building and the one that we want to rehabilitate and turn into a visitor center. And we have a vision for what that visitor center is going to look like, but it's going to be rehabilitated in coordination with the LCWA, because they're going to be managing that. And once we move that over to where the second tank farm is sitting, which is the tank farm you saw as you drove in on your left-hand side, we're going to earthquake retrofit that, we're going to raise it up, and we're going to turn it over with the endowment for the LCWA to manage in perpetuity. The trail that we walked on up here, you can, it looks degraded. It's not very aesthetically pleasing right now, but once the project is implemented, this whole entire area up here is going to turn into native scrub habitat. So you'll have a nice, 6-foot wide meandering DG trail that doesn't just end here. It's going to go all the way down to that tall palm tree down there. So your trail access to this site, so you can see the wetlands, you can enjoy the view, is going to go all the way down to that area as well. A couple more benefits that this project is going to provide that you might be interested in is sidewalks and trails and bike paths. So along our 3 frontages, Studebaker Road, where you've got maybe a 4 to 5 foot bike lane that's seriously dangerous to ride on right now with no sidewalks. There's going to be sidewalks along Studebaker on both sides of 2nd Street. So not only on our side of the project, but on the Trader Joe's side, and then as well as on PCH, there will be sidewalks. So those are, again, public benefits within the first 2 to 3 years of the project being entitled and getting started. You guys are all going to be standing in the same spot during high tide to get to see the wetlands being restored for the first time. So I think that from an overall project view, this is one that we feel is extremely feasible and tangible.
I know there's a lot more questions and everything, but we got to move on from this tour because we have other folks coming in. Please feel free to get a picture of the slough.
And we'll have further coverage of this story as it develops on LongBeachReport.com. Our extended video coverage is made possible by Amico Solar, Southern California's #1 solar contractor since 1974, by Diversified Threat Management, security services, and more for your neighborhood and business group, and by Joe and Linda Sopo, your Los Altos real estate specialists at joeandlindasopo.com. Watch for further coverage of this and more on LongBeachReport.com. With LongBeachReport.com, you won't miss a thing.